This is an episode of the Leadheads Podcast, a weapons and firearm podcast unlike any other. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing or checking out our YouTube page. Work the trigger. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Leadhead Podcast, Episode 2. 5 guns we love to hate.
That's right. This episode is about 5 guns that don't necessarily deserve the hate that we give them, but we give it anyway because it's just fun.
Thoroughly. We give it thoroughly.
With all the force that we can. So these are, again, not guns that are technically bad. They're fun to crap all over, whether it's because we like to be nitpicky or because of the fanboys that surround them. And sometimes it is so easy to upset people. So I am going to let Builder go first this time because I went first the last time. So what is your first gun that you love to hate?
My first gun will be a gun that is on both of our list. It is the Springfield XD family of firearms.
That wasn't even on my list.
What?
I did other ones. Explain why.
The XD is a decent gun that is very top heavy, has fantastic capacity, a pretty good trigger. Honestly, as a gun, it's pretty good.
It's relatively accurate.
It is hated by the gun community, like so much. And the fanboys of Springfield defend it. And I mean, I've owned one. It shot fantastic. It shot groups for me that I hadn't. It shot groups for me when I didn't know how to properly shoot a pistol that are still sometimes a challenge for me to shoot now, knowing how to shoot a pistol. It was a fantastic gun. But it ain't no Glock.
It's the XD just has a couple of little nitpicky things that they are very fun to pick on.
Grip zone.
The grip zone, the grip safety in the back is actually a big one.
Which
that
I would actually like for appendix carry.
It would be great, except it breaks often.
Yeah, they do. They
Which
do that.
Not a great thing. Okay, so my first one, these are in no particular order. I might want to add. My first one is actually a gun that I really enjoy, and that is the SIG Legion. I really enjoy the Legion. This is my competition gun. It is a fun gun to shoot, but there are just some things that SIG, in standard SIG fashion, they SIG'd it up. They SIG'd it up good. Between making the grip contoured to a robotic hand rather than a human hand, this has been confirmed by multiple people, not just myself. We know I have tiny child hands, and there was a ledge on the back of this thing that just, I don't know who test fit this thing in their hand, but whoever it was had a fake hand made of metal or something other than flesh, because it was not the most comfortable thing.
I never got to experience that ledge. You either took care of it before or I didn't notice it.
I took care of it before because I got rid of that.
Well, that isn't the only one I shot.
Oh, maybe that's true. Well, you don't notice it unless you shoot a couple hundred rounds through.
Okay.
It takes a couple hundred rounds to really notice it, but then once you notice it from shooting, you notice it all the time. In addition to that,
like a rock in your shoe.
Yes. In addition to that, you've got we'll just round it to $1,000 gun. And let's just say that the $1,000 gun has a trigger that is surpassed by some $500 guns. That mixed with SIG's standard of mixing in random, when they make changes mid-line, and they never swap the part numbers. So They actually changed the optics cut on this gun at least once, and you don't know where that optics cut change was. So you end up with people who make optics plates or people who are trying to help people mount optics that don't know what optics cut they've done on the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a whole train wreck of issues that bring down a great gun. And I love pointing them out because as much as I love the gun, I like ragging on it more.
I will say that the only thing that I don't particularly care about that gun is the trigger. And he actually has an aftermarket trigger in his that is night and day better than the factory was. And we were just discussing, I was just playing with it and dry firing it, and I was like, I could outrun this. And I'm not some exceptional shooter, but I could outrun that trigger, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, it's acceptable at best. So what's your second one?
It's my turn?
Yeah, it is.
My second one is the broad category of the 40 Smith & Wesson.
That's fair.
The 40 Smith & Wesson is a viable carry round. It is a very viable round. But the fanboys behind it make me want to just make them cry. And there's no getting away from it. My father is a 40 Smith & Wesson fan, and we go back and forth playfully, of course. But the 40 Smith & Wesson, it's a decent round. It was supposed to, bridge the gap between everything. If I want something with more stopping power, I'll get a real 40 and get a 10 millimeter. If I want something with capacity in the frame size that a 40 Smith & Wesson comes in, I'll have a 9 millimeter. If I want something that'll win 2 world wars, I'll get a 45. So that's all I have to say about the 40s.
That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, the 40 it was a round that is a good idea, and ballistically it does do better than a 9 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
But the drawbacks are just not there, and the fanboys are
and the guns
very
break.
stubborn.
The guns break a lot.
They do. Unless you ask 40 guys, in which case they never break anymore.
Yeah. Because they only shoot 1 box a year.
Right. Okay, so my number 2, right? We're on number 2?
We're on number 2.
We're on number 2. My number 2 is...
Who does number 2 work for?
Who does number 2 work for? Is just Glocks in general. I'm sorry. I know, Builder. I'm sorry. But... again, this is one of those guns. I enjoy Glocks. I own multiples. But the fanboys behind them and what they are, and then on top of that with Glock, the company and how the company treats their revisions and how they view themselves, it makes me want to peel my eyes out with a spoon. The whole Glock perfection, and yet they keep finding things to fix. So obviously it wasn't perfect the first time. Glock, yeah, Glock. Let's be honest, Glock hasn't innovated since 1982. They've come up with different little things here and there.
SIG wouldn't have come out with a new generation. SIG would have just been like, and we're rolling into this.
That's a very good point. They would have. It's and that's not to say that the Gen 5 Glock isn't better than the previous generations. It is. But 1, is it perfect? No. 2, does it deserve the fanboy clout? Not really. And 3, I just like picking on people who run them. That's it.
As a person who runs Glocks and carries Glocks and shoots competitively sometimes with Glocks, I gotta say that there's definitely better guns out there. But if I have to grab one gun from my house or from his house and absolutely trust whatever I need to trust to it, I would grab a Glock. I'd put the most rounds through a Glock myself, so it is what is most comfortable to me.
Yep, I'm not going to crap on you for that. You're up.
Scar. Yes, I am swinging for the fences. There's a few things you hear about the Scar.
The single color multicam?
There's a few things you hear about the Scar. One of them is that the Scar 17 especially. It runs fantastic. It is the best 308 battle rifle you could ever find. There's nothing that is superior to the Scar in any way, shape, or form, and that is from people that own a Scar.
Mm-hmm.
There's also other people that own Scars that say, well, it broke again. And then a few months later, it broke again. And then you have another group of people that own Scars that say, Well, I put a can on it one time, and yeah, it's not under warranty anymore, and it broke.
That gets rid of the warranty on a scar?
Yeah, it does.
Oh.
I mean, it is a good rifle. People wear them out fast, especially the 308s, and the 308s are the superior scar. The 5.56 scars are just, I mean, they're just funny looking ARs. But at the price point you're looking for those, and the fanboys that come with them, I love to hate that gun.
What do scars go for now? 35-ish?
I don't know. I think 35, your left testicle, and 2 butt rapes.
That wouldn't hurt you too much.
No, I'd be okay. But
yeah. All right. So my next gun that I love to hate is actually a gun that fully deserves it. And that is the Taurus Judge.
That should have been on my list.
So this is a gun that it claims so much, and they just want it to be so much, and the Fuds buy in wholeheartedly with everything they have, buy into this gun. And if you look at any of the actual testing done on it, the rounds are subpar. What you've got 45 long Colt, which is,
well,
yes,
with an asterisk. 45 long Colt that has to jump the cylinder and loses 200 feet per second.
Right. Which 45 long Colt is already a 200 grain
anemic round
going at 800 feet per second. It is an old school. It's a black powder round that most loadings don't exceed black powder velocities. They just really don't. And then you've got the 410 shotgun shell, which is, they've got about the same ballistic as a 45 long Colt, don't they? A little quicker.
A 410 slug has about the same ballistics as a 38 special.
Okay. So you're looking at a gun twice as heavy as a good 38 special with the same ballistics. And there's just no point in it. There's no point in this gun. And they claim it to be so much. And the majority of the people who buy it aren't running 38 special slug, or aren't running 410 slugs. They're running 410 buck, which is
triple
even worse. Which it loses everything about it. You combine a lot of fudisms here with the shotguns don't have to aim, with the simplicity of a revolver, and it just ends up being this lump of crap that is super fun to make fun of.
My dad, who is not a FUD,
he is not.
I need to confirm this because it's the second time he's been brought up now. We were getting ready to go on vacation last month, and we were going down to Florida. And he's like, "You bringing a gun?" I said, "Yeah, I'm bringing a couple." He said, "You want to take a judge with you? Or you want to take one of the judges with you?" And I said, "I wouldn't know what to do with it, Dad."
Oh, man.
But I will say, he has a judge as a nightstand gun, and it's just him and my mother in the house. And dumping 5 rounds down their hallway, it would be okay. It would be all right.
Your dad's a good shot.
Oh, yeah.
Sue, so he's got that going for him. What's your next one?
The 6.5 Creedmoor firearms.
Oh,
I'm just going after
a low blow, man.
I'm just swinging for the fences, hitting all these fanboys. And the reason I don't like it is because it's better than what I have.
So this is one of those situations where you hate it because they're right.
I hate it because they're right. So inside of 100 yards, my 308s are superior to a 6.5 Creedmoor. Outside of 100 yards, 6.5 Creedmoor is better. But
he admitted it.
I am a red-blooded American. And if I want something to go faster and shoot flatter and go farther, I do whatever the logical explanation is, and I put more powder behind it. And I would get a 300 Win Mag.
Yeah, just go bigger.
Yes.
That's the American
30
way.
cal or bust. So, and the 6.5 Creedmoor guys, everybody has their own thing. I'm a big 308 fan, and I can get kind of kind of bitchy about 308, especially when you bring up 30-06 or 6.5 Creedmoor. But yeah, 6.5 Creedmoor guys, they're definitely sold on that round.
I'm not gonna lie. Now, after running 6.5, I want a 6.5 Creedmoor. I own a 6.5 Grendel.
I love the Grendel,
and
I really do.
And now I want a Creedmoor. I actually want a Creedmoor Ruger American to compare to the 783 that we were talking about the last podcast around. So, man, you are going after fanboys, aren't you? All right.
Just wait till the next one. You're going to get super nettled.
Okay. So my next one is it's also a gun that fully deserves to be on this list, and it's a gun that we covered the last time because it is also a gun that I hate, and that is the Remington 597. This is a gun that is so bad that it deserves everything I throw at it. All of the shade and the crap, it deserves it all. This gun is just a horrible 22. I mean, I've shot older Remingtons from back in like the 50s and 60s.
Like the Nylon 66.
Yes, I actually have one of those in pieces somewhere around here.
Oh.
And I've my brother's got a Remington. What's the one with the mag that you drop the bullets in from the front from back then? Anyway, doesn't matter. They are great. They are accurate. They are reliable. They are just fantastic guns. But man, the 597 is just not.
When you compare it to what's out there, I'm trying to find something good to say about everything we have on the list here, and I can't. I've owned one. I can't say something good about it. I think the scope ring's mounted okay to it. I mean, I don't know what to say. In a world,
look at you being so positive.
In the world of the 1022, where it is king. I don't consider the 1022 as the king of the semi-auto 22s. I actually consider the Marlin 60 the king of semi-auto 22s. Because in the experience that I've had with several 1022s and several Marlin 60s, the 60s flat out outperform the 1022s as far as accuracy. But in a world of Marlin 60s, 1022s, Marlin 795s, I mean, freaking Mossberg 22s. Everything I would take over a 597.
I feel like I do need to preface with when I talk about the 1022. The 1022 is the AK-47 of the 22 semi-autos. It's just the one that you grab and it's going to work. Mm-hmm. It's not the most accurate. It's not the most refined, but it's going to work.
My 1022 was my first gun. I got when I was...
You made better choices than I did.
No, my dad got it for me.
He made better choices than I did.
But I don't know. We'll say that I got it when I was 8. We'll say 8 to 10, somewhere in there. And I will say that I never cleaned it. I have never cleaned that gun, and I'm 30 years old.
That is pretty impressive.
And it still runs like a champ.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah. And no, I did clean it one time. I did clean it one time because it was after I accidentally left it outside for a week. Leaned against the fence post, and it rained.
Gosh. I've seen that gun. It does not look
the barrel.
like...
The whole barrel was rusty. I sanded it all down, Duracoated the barrel, shot it a few times to clean the inside, and it still runs like a champ.
It does. That gun is... It does. So, hey, it's your turn.
It's my turn.
It is, I think.
My number 5 gun that I like to hate on. I love to hate on. For a very specific reason, and the reason sitting next to me is the Tech 9.
You bastard. How dare you?
And the Tech 9, I don't know that I can give you a redeemable quality of either.
It looks cool.
The Tech 9 is a wonderful piece of machinery that never hits the same spot twice.
It's true.
It has the wonderful ability to help you with your malfunction manipulations.
Also true.
I've never shot one, but I'm just going to assume that the trigger's probably shit. They're big, they're cumbersome, don't have great sights. and I always kind of associate them with less than savory ideas as far as lifestyle choices.
No, you're absolutely right. For
And-
those of you
and
wondering,
it
the Tech
doesn't-
22 or the Tech 9 is my guilty pleasure gun. That's the gun that I want, that I am embarrassed admitting to want.
Whereas mine is a Mac 10. And
The Mac 10's not a guilty want gun. That's just a want gun.
It's just like, would you rather have this steaming piece of shit or a Mac 10?
Apparently, I lean towards steaming pieces of shit.
So that's my number 5.
I'm hurt, man.
I threw that one in at the end. I couldn't figure out one, and I knew that one would bite.
Okay, so my number 5 choice is a category. Now, I have an example, but it's not an example of the specific part of the category that I want to talk about. And that is AR-based 9mm PCCs. This particular one is a New Frontier one, and I actually really like this one.
Yeah, it's a very nice.
It's a 9mm 5-inch barrel side charging handle, and it's just, this is a good close quarters little setup. Takes Glock's mags. So I can't talk.
It's a good little pack gun. I mean,
it is
a truck gun, a bedside gun. It's a good size.
The ones that I hate are the ones that are the size of a full-size freaking AR, unless you're competing with them. If you're competing with them, cool, more power to you. If you're not competing with them and you buy them in the place of where a 223 or 5.56 or even like a 6.5 AR should be, those are the ones that I hate. It is not a substitute for that. I know that they look cool just like an AR, and I know that the rounds are cheaper, but they are not as effective, and they are not the same thing.
Also, along that same line, we both have Grand Power Strydogs.
Yes, we do.
They have 8-inch barrels.
Mm-hmm.
Most 9mm ballistics is done on a 4-inch barrel because that is the average barrel length of a pistol. If you compare ballistics on a chart between a 4-inch and an 8-inch barrel, on average, you're going to gain between 150 and 250 feet per second of muzzle velocity on that round. Between an 8-inch barrel and a 16-inch barrel, you're going to gain, depending on round, between 0 and 50 feet per second. Which 50 feet per second, when you're talking a lower number like 9mm, is still something. But the biggest jump is actually between like 4 and 10. It's somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
But an 8-inch barrel or less is where you need to be looking. 16 is just unwieldy when it comes to something in 9mm.
It's just a silly size for something that isn't specifically competition based.
Unless you have like a stupid amount of money and you can run a Tavor with a 16-inch barrel. Because I would do that.
Okay.
In 9mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still,
I mean, I wouldn't because I'm left-handed and I don't want brass going down my shirt.
No, nobody wants that. But I just, I hate it. I hate them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a bonus for this one?
I don't have a bonus for this one. It's on you.
I do have a bonus for this one. So my bonus for the guns that I love to hate on is the Smith & Wesson Shield, specifically the Gen 1, but it kind of has morphed into the Gen 2 a little bit, and let me explain why. So the Gen 1 is because this gun came out, and it was relatively innovative for the time. There weren't any other single stack polymer guns out. It was small, popular, reliable.
The car was out.
That's true. Yeah, but cars, I have heard questionables about them.
Yeah.
It's like an 80% to 95% type of a thing. But
yeah.
I digress. Anyway, so it was a relatively unique mainstream pistol. But the trigger in the early Gen 1s was just...
with no hype. It just dropped one day. I was working at a gun store when it happened, and it was like, what is this? Hello.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty standard Smith & Wesson.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't talk about your stuff. Just drop it and see what happens.
We have this thing.
But, yeah. It shows up in a box one day, and then you get an email 20 minutes later. Hey, look at this.
You want this?
But the trigger in the for Gen 1s was just atrocious. It doesn't handle well in general. The grip shape is not conducive to one's hand. It probably does better in builder's hand than mine. My, again, small child hands.
It's pretty slick, even with my quite a bit of grip strength that I have. It's
and your built-in
stippling and my sandpaper grip. It's still a pretty slick gun.
But the reason that it is extended now to the Gen 2 is because, unfortunately, the shield has just become obsolete. With the creation of the P365 from SIG, the 365 XL, the Springfield Hellcat, you've got these guns that are smaller, like significantly smaller, with more rounds and are more shootable. The 365 and the Hellcat are both a more enjoyable shooting experience than the Shield is, which is insane considering the size of the Shield. Even the Glock 48, which is slightly bigger than a Shield, but not a drastic amount, is a better shooting experience. The 43
is not.
It's not. It's a little bit less, but I wouldn't doubt whether the 43X was a better shooting experience. So that gun just makes me mad, and I love picking on it, which is really funny because, man, I've got one of my biggest videos that I've got up is the installation of the Hive trigger in my M&P, in my Shield. And I get on there, oftentimes, people will hop on to say, you're the only person that I've ever seen badmouth as a Smith & Wesson, an M&P trigger. And I'm kind of taken back by it.
Have you talked to anybody?
Right, because first of all, if you talk to any seasoned shooter, they complain about that trigger. It's known to be a subpar trigger across the board. But
especially the early ones.
Yeah, but then when I try to explain to them that, like, mine was a very early model, and the very early models they actually had a mid-model change with the Gen 1s because they were getting so many complaints on the triggers.
And that was across the board. It wasn't just on the Shields. It was on all the M&Ps.
Yep.
Because I had all early model M&Ps, and they had the reset you couldn't feel or hear on any of the triggers. And then all of a sudden we got some in the shop, and it was like, whoa, hello.
Yet again, that's Smith & Wesson completely dropping the ball on their media. Don't bother telling people. Just do it. It's kind of funny because it's kind of like SIG and their methods, except it's with entire guns.
Yeah, like they just dropped the core last year, and they were like, oh, yeah, we made this.
Right. Yeah, they came out with those, I think, before NRAM when we went. And, like, they showed up in shops, and then you saw, like, a magazine article a week later or something like that. It was insane. All right, guys, so that is our list of 5 guns that we love to hate. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that that you hung out with us the whole time. I'm not really sure how far along here we are, but yeah, if you enjoy this podcast and this kind of formula that we're doing here, go ahead and do me a favor and like and subscribe to us. If you're interested in helping out a little bit, head on over to our Patreon page. We do have a page called workthetrigger.com. That page has coupon codes. It's got affiliate links, and it does have links to all of our other stuff. So, again, thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.